Very happy good morning to all the distinguished participants in Kathmandu. I would have loved to be there with you today morning. Unfortunately, I'm in the far end of the country in Trivandrum, and my colleague Arun Kumar, he's speaking for Delhi. So both of us have been very closely associated with the National Building Code work, me in particular for the last 60 years, right from the first version of 1970, later 83, 2005, 2016, and now the 2025 version of the National Building Code is coming. I'm in this sector working as a civil engineer for the last 60 years. Arun is able colleague, heading director of the civil engineering department, and also head of the NBC cell, and working in the standardization area over 2.5 decades plus. And I'm very happy that both together we will make the presentation on National Building Code of India the new thrust forward. I hope you're able to hear us and able to see the.
At least I can hear.
Yeah, good. So let's proceed. The next one, Arun.
Do you see this?
Yeah, you will do it. Yeah. Well, the National Building Code of India provides the guidelines for building construction and design in India. As I said, which the first version came in 1970. It ensures all aspects of safety, structural safety, fire safety, health safety, construction safety, electrical safety, as well as life safety and public safety, sustainability, accessibility, and compliance with modern building standards. It's one of the finest document being used by all the concerned agencies, including municipal corporation, municipalities, fire authorities, CPWD, MES, defense, railways, everybody. As I said, focus on fire safety, structural safety, and sustainability and energy efficiency is very, very important. And it's built around all the pillars of safety. And I'm very happy you are having the thrust on fire safety and electrical safety as far as this session is concerned. Building code is revised periodically to address evolving construction technologies, urban planning needs, and environment challenges. No wonder after the 70 version came, we had revised it over. The building code has got 12 parts there, starting with integrated approach, prerequisite for applying provisions of the code, coordination between all the professionals, multidisciplinary professionals, architects, engineers, structural engineers, fire engineers, MEP engineers, all concerned. And that will talk on the part 0 on coordination integration. Part 1 is all about definitions on all the parts of the code. And part 2 is administrative provisions and covering all the procedures required for the building permit and development permit, occupancy permit, including the NOCs from the fire and other authorities in a large way. It was all the administrative one, not only at the level of building permit stage, occupancy permit stage, demolition permit, and all the related area. More will come shortly. Part 3 is on development control rules and general building requirements. All that is required to be done up to the plot and development control rules in the layout, subdivisions, for all situations there. And of course, the general building requirements, what should happen within a plot in terms of all the requirements on the planning requirements. Part 4 is very important, very relevant for your session. I understand yesterday Sandeep had already presented our particular thing is also associated with the program on fire and life safety. Very important document, as good as mandatory, adopted by all the fire authorities, and the NOC from the fire authority is a must for giving a building permission. Part 5 gives on all building materials required for all construction aspects. Structural design is the next major component on all aspects. I'll talk details later. And part 7 is construction management practice and safety. And part 8 is on building services, all the critical utility services, lighting, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical installation, lifts, etc. And plumbing service covers on water supply, sewerage, drainage, solid waste management, gas supply. And part 10 is on landscape development, science and outdoor displays. So it's very important. Large number of structures falling down either on top of the building or standalone, causing death to the people. And the most important approach, sustainability, we added in 2016 version after the Sustainable Development Goal to the year 2030 was brought in. Again, for the first time, last 2016, we brought in the new chapter, the first building code in the world to bring in asset and facility management. It's not enough that you plan, design, and build all the building in a proper way. You get an occupancy, but you got to keep it maintaining and performing well all the systems in the building. So assets and facility management chapter, very popular as far as the building code is concerned. So let's get into a little more in detail. And these are covered. If you see, the building code came in 2 volumes. Next slide will indicate that the details of that particular contents of that in a large way. Let me just get on to that, and we get into those particular provisions. Arun, can you go to the next
There
slide?
seems to be a little lag. Yeah. I'll just share once again. There seems to be a little lag. Okay.
Okay.
I'll share once again.
Yeah, no, not a problem. By the time you do that, I'll just continue speaking so that we don't lose time in the presentation there. And the building code is a very, very comprehensive document, all at the level of the architects, planners, structural engineers, civil engineers, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. There it is. So you'll see the contents of it in a much more detailed manner. I talked about up to part 6, but part 6 structural design is important because you get the various sections. Loads, forces, and effects, very important for Nepal equally, or not only the earthquake forces, plus also the wind forces, so the landslide and related one, all that will come in that. Then section 2 is on soils and foundation. Section 3 is on construction using timber and bamboo, very important. And 4 is masonry, equally important for Nepal, stone and brick masonry, concrete, both plain, reinforced, and pre-stressed. Then steel, including composite construction, you'll see it very shortly. And 7 is prefabrication systems building and mixed composite construction as well. And a segment on glass and glazing. Structural, large number of buildings have the envelope with glass and glazing as a structural envelope that comes over there. What does it mean for structural designers? Very important, not only for the lighting and ventilation people, but lighting and the heat insulation people. And that will bring us to the next particular component on the part 7 on construction practices. Again, it's a problem in the presentation. Yeah, that brings up construction management practice part 7. And part 8, building services have got 6 sections on lighting and ventilation, both natural and artificial, both natural and mechanical ventilation, electrical and allied installation, very, very important, which is one of your concern on electrical safety and related fire. Then the air conditioning, heating, and mechanical ventilation, very, very important clause there. Acoustic sound insulation, noise control, installation of lifts, escalators, and moving walks under 2 sections for both lifts and escalators. And we added for the first time last time the information and communication enabled installation. All buildings require that particular thing in a very large way. Nothing can work without that particular information on the ICT. And that will bring us to part 9 on plumbing services, on water supply, drainage, sanitation, solid waste, and gas supply, and part 10 on landscape development, science and outdoor display structures under 2 parts again, giving the details on section 1 and section 2, and approach to sustainability, we got it added last time, and part 12 on asset and facility management. Let's get a little more into the details of the section now, one by one. I'll have to go hurry that particular one. I'll do that. Next slide will give you the issue on that. Arun?
Sir, there is a significant lag. If the organizers can upload the presentation from their end, is it possible, Mr. Shrestha or so? Because I'm seeing a severe lag in.
Sure, sir.
Well,
Sure, sir.
speed, they're not able to catch up.
Yeah, I am already on the next slide, but it is not coming on the internet one. I've got other device also, but if it is possible, they can put the presentation from their end. Still not loaded. No? Every time I have to stop sharing and then reshare my entire screen.
Can we request them to do that?
Yeah, they can do it. They can do it. Okay.
Rukesh?
Otherwise, the revisions are now started.
Okay. I think they have done it now. Am I right? Okay.
No,
part
it's
0 is,
from my end only.
yeah, okay. Part 0 is the integrated approach regarding the prerequisites for applying the provisions of the NBC. And this is a very, very important one where the working together all the multidisciplinary teams between the architects, civil engineers, structural engineers, geotechnical engineers, MEP engineers, landscape specialists, fire specialists, including the groups dealing with the green building rating and other related one, and coordination integration is a major area, and including operation maintenance, post completion, how the assets and facility management team takes over, and how all the professionals can work together. This gives you the particular, and for the first time we have brought in the BIM as an important component there of digital framework in construction using building information modeling, also included in the part 0 of the 2025 version, which will also later on come in part 7 also. Next please.
Yeah, next it is part 2.
Part 2.
I've
by the time,
gone to the part 2.
By the time the slide comes on, there's a time lag, as I say. I will tell. It will give all the administrative provisions that is required for the building permit processes there, including the nature of documents to be submitted for the code permission, development permit, as well as building permit, development permit, land development, building permit for the building construction, integrated approach, and clean procedure obtaining both the development and building permits. Most important responsibility of owners and all professionals involved in the planning, design, construction. This is very important. The building code clearly indicates what the architect can do, what the engineers can do, what the structural engineers can do, and what the MEP professionals and services people can do dealing with all the installations, critical utility services in a large way. And we are given not only the qualifications, but also the competence and the level to which they can work on. The next slide will give you further how we have got for the first time, including fire professionals, the type of requirements which has come over there. So you see we have simplified the detailed requirements of the permit application. We can also submit special requirements for review mechanism for high-rise buildings and special buildings, and procedures for the permits, plans, process, and demolitions we have brought in for the first time. We also brought in improved oversight for periodic renewal of the permits. Even if you get a building permit, the building is in operation. On structural audits, electrical audit, and fire audit, we brought in 3 years or 5 years time period. Renewal of the thing, it's again a very important cross provisions in the building code. We are adding that, and we are also getting in the right level of professional participation for the people dealing with this one, and also the clear roles and responsibilities have been added for all the owners, professionals, and the enforcement authorities. And this is very important. The people who are sitting on judgment to deal with the plan of any particular developer or the construction department or the government should be not less qualified. They should be equally qualified to pass judgmental view on that. So your continuous training is required on behalf of the enforcement authorities. An enforcement authority can be not only the municipal corporation, municipalities, plus all the fire authorities, water authorities, pollution control, environment control, fire people. All those people are together on the enforcement authorities together. Going forward, part 2 gives next clause will give the right type of approach to deal with that. We have a technical problem of the time lag. That's what we requested, whether you could have loaded that from your side.
I see it on my computer, it is there, but there's a severe lag. Host, kindly give the sharing rights on my other account, which is the laptop account also, please.
Go forward, go forward, go forward.
Oh, it's
go forward.
Yeah, host is presenting now. Thank you.
Please go forward, go forward. Progress, progress, progress. Yeah, we can stop here. One earlier, correct. One earlier, one earlier, one earlier, one earlier. Yeah. So this is important because it encourages the involvement of public in case of development work, building activities, special large building, not only submission of the plan for the electronically, you also submit. You don't require all the bundles of papers. Electronic filing of the things is equally an important one. And we also identified the structural design basis report, with an important component added in the building code for the first time, especially earthquake zones and wind zones and tall buildings of 50, 60, 70, 100-story building. So the structural design basis report is an important component for any building, special building or high rise beyond 15 meters or 500 meters, square meters of area. And we also rationalize the activities involving alteration which do not require notice to authorities, and format for applicable fees and charges to be also has been included in this in a very detailed manner. Going forward, next slide please. That will bring us to the further provisions which are there on the requirements in respect of all the concerned professional. We are given a useful flow chart for easy processing and approval, time limit being given for all the NOCs to be given by the concerned line department, grant of sanction, refusal, occupancy permit, the structural design review can be done, rationalization, respond to owner, part occupancy certificate in case the whole building is not completed or only part of them is completed, how we can do that. Periodic occupancy renewal certificate for structural, electrical and fire. This is a very important clause added. Once occupancy certificate, we never get into it, but now we feel that that's an absolute must that has been covered in detail, and permits also for signages, hoardings and outdoor display structures has been added. As indicated, qualifications of not only all professionals, including fire protection engineer. For the first time, we have put over people who are dealing with the fire-related one. What should be their minimum qualification? Competence has been added, including, for that matter, the peer reviewer or proof checker for structural design has also been included. So you see, part 2 is a very, very comprehensive provision of the building, the development or the built environment, dealing not only at the planning, design, construction, completion, occupancy, during the performance of the particular building, till you can declare a building unsafe, till demolition, what needs to be done. All the procedures have been completely identified in this particular thing in a detailed manner. Going forward, you have part 3 coming up, which is the most important clause on development control rules and general building requirements to ensure health and safety of the public. All the planning norms, town planning people, architects, the spatial requirement in a 3-dimensional form of X, Y, and Z are all covered in this particular thing in a very detailed manner. Let's proceed further to the next slide there. It covers enhanced accessibility for updated provision of elderly and persons with disabilities, including gender-neutral design, accessible for transport, hubs and specialized bathrooms, urban design features including guidelines for spaces for creches and old age homes. It covers also coastal area development. We have 6,400 kilometer coastal area on the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Ocean. We have to cover the special requirements of that. We have updated land use provisions added as this particular thing on revised classification for better urban planning, improved access standards for roads, pathways, and means of access. Very important from fire point of view. How do you reach a particular building? Whatever clauses required, the road concerned, the type of development there, including the way in which you will be able to reach the building are covered, including the regular turning circle, etc., etc. Please go forward. The next slide will give you all the parking requirements have been updated, reflecting the concept of all the parking spaces, including the ECS. ECS is the equivalent car space, including 4-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 2-wheelers, all the provisions required. And we also covered the electric vehicle. Now that EV has come over, what percentage of the car parking should be EV, because charging points are to be provided in part in the electrical installation, residential building, commercial building, malls, etc. Electric vehicles have been brought in over there. We also brought in for the first time preventing crime and resilience against extreme events have been included over there. I already told the coastal area development already brought in a lot of new tools for transferable development rights, accommodation reservation. These are all the new planning norms which can come over there. Compensatory floor area ratio, reservation credit certificate, purchasable floor area, transit-oriented development, all have been covered in detail. Effectively, it covers not only all the development at the macro level, but also the micro level within a particular building, spaces within the building, or how do you deal with that, each space, the minimum width, the area, the heights, all those details are covered, which normally the planners and the architects deal with that particular thing in a very detail, including, of course, the engineers. Next, please. Can we go forward? That brings us to fire and life safety. I'm very happy that this has already been covered in detail yesterday by Sandeep Goyal and also partly by Shruti yesterday, so I won't get into it. All of you are gathered here, but I would have loved to speak on it for the whole day. But fire prevention, life safety, and fire protection are the major area of concern here, and we have got into it large number of increasing provisions. And you'll all be very happy to know that in a day or two, the Part 4 fire protection of the Fire and Life Safety National Building Code 2025 document will come on wide circulation. I invite all people who are participating in this program to kindly go through this particular one and give you a valuable comment. There are large number of changes coming in the fire and life safety portion vis-a-vis the provisions covered in the 2016 version of the National Building Code. As I told you, the Building Code of 1970, 1983, 2005, 2016 version already there. So this 2025 version covers all the requirements of the nature of buildings in this particular area. Going forward, can you go to the next slide, please? Enhanced fire protection standards, revised minimum firefighting requirements based on hydraulic calculation, updated fire resistance ratings for roofs on account intermediate service and installation, classification of building design and usage, clear guidelines of measuring building height for different occupancies, because the requirements of the firefighting also depend on heights of the building. The mixed occupancy is a very major component of residential, retail, and commercial coming in the same one. How do you deal with the right level of compartmentalization of fire resistance rating between one occupancy and the other are covered in detail. It actually covers the practical requirements from better compliance point of view. This will become a very important clause of mixed occupancies horizontally and vertically within the building in a very large way. Going forward, please go forward to the next slide. Improved safety provisions on exits. No, I think one earlier. Detailed requirement exits, fire exit staircases, occupant load. As you are aware, we have the fire tower concept which has come over there in a very popular way, which has been included in 2016 version that is expanded. Fire safety measures for commercial kitchen, and table 7 is a very important clause, completely revamped, and that covers for all the occupancies of building what should be the one, the nature of fire protection required, be it on wet riser or dry riser or sprinklers or detectors. All those detailed about of water storage for each one of the things for the heights of buildings have been covered. Table 7 is a wonderful document covering. We have covered for high rises, EV parking areas, data centers. In particular, we also covered for the transportation hubs like metro stations and train rails. Fire safety and life safety becomes an important component in all such buildings because a large number of people congregate at one point of time. So those have been covered in a very, very large way. Kindly proceed. Next slide, please. Very important. This is important because Part 4 of the National Building Code has got various clauses. Clause numbers are given there, but this has got a lot of link with our document on Part 6, Section 1 on concrete. Because for the first time, structural designs are made to think that you can't, if you want a higher fire resistance rating of a 2-hour, 3-hour, or 4-hour fire resistance rating, the cover required for that design has got to be more. It cannot be lesser. So that means with the additional cover, the fire can't reach the reinforcement. So therefore, structural engineers and the fire engineers have to work together. Very important clause in 20 is come. Minimum diameter for reinforced concrete members for fire resistance added. Nominal cover to meet the fire resistance rating has been come. Similarly for steel structures between Part 6, Section 6 and Clause 22, 25 and 26 are covered. The fire steel-based construction, how will it come in terms of the fire resistance rating to deal with that particular cover. Electrical installation, many clauses, the cable types, FR, LSH, metal sheets, security integrate, location of MV, LV and switch room and other substations, smoke management system, underground metro station. So these are all electrical installation, but has got fire resistance impact. So we covered between Part 4 and the concerned section. Part of the NBC is on the left-hand side, and the second one is the NBC Part 4 clauses, and the component is covered in the between. Go to the next slide, please. Part 8, HVAC, very, very important. The duct design, healthcare facility, underground car parking ventilation system, including air changes per hour, smoke control in HVAC. All these are very, very things in air-conditioned building, which has got its impact on fire. So the part 4 on fire will cover that particular clause on the HVAC in a large way. Lifts are an important component. Part 8, Section 5A, fireman's lift as an important one. Fire protection requirement lifts, including operation. We also said, I have included for the first time the buildings beyond a certain height. Why we always say in case of fire, don't use lifts. But in case of evacuation, lifts for buildings beyond a certain height has also been included in line with the latest fire codes internationally for taller buildings. Evacuation lifts also have been brought in addition to the fireman's lift. It's an important component. Escalators, similarly, clause 7, we have brought in the fire safety aspects in not only part 8, 5B, and also clause 7 of the part 4 there. Telecom service, very important because all the conduits, the trays, the slots, sleeves, because these are lifeline. Communication system completely goes wrong. Optical fiber in all those buildings that you put over there, and without internet, nothing can work. Like we just now saw a few minutes back, the speed at which we communicate with each other. So therefore, a lot of clauses coming over there. Similarly, in water supply for firefighting purposes, we have made a major change coming in the clause, storage of water requirement, and also the nature of pipe entrance to building and services, which are the clauses which in part 9, section 1 and gas supply on part 4 have been covered there. Similarly, landscape requirement, because there are neon sign and related comes there, and what type of fire implications are there, we have integrated that also in a very large way. Going forward, can you kindly go forward? So you'll find that it is not only part 4 being, as I said, kindly wait for next 2 days' time. Part 4, Fire Protection National Building Code 2025 document will become a public document. Everybody can participate and give their valuable comments on that. And we are extremely happy that we have tried to make it the state-of-the-art document as good as any document anywhere in the world, keeping India's development requirements over the next 15-20 years time period, heights of buildings, nature of occupancy, etc. Everything has been covered. Part 5, building materials, is all about the new building materials, be it cement, steel, glass, aluminium, brick, whatever. All the 500 odd building materials all are covered, including permitting innovative and alternative building material, provided you can prove they are good enough for construction, performance-wise, they work well. So if you don't want to stop any new material to come in over there, to permit that also, there's enabling provision to provide for that. And alternative construction, encouraging modern, efficient, resource-conscious building technologies, green products, the less embodied energy-based building material, as long as it has all those, what can I say, functional requirements, structural sufficiency, thermal insulation, sound insulation, water protection, all those functional properties of a building material can deal with that. We don't want to stop. If I have a new product, I'll permit the new product, provided that particular product can withstand as a wall or a roof or a door or whatever. We don't stop in that. We are also covering out the recycled material, agricultural waste material, industrial waste material of large new products which are coming, which are eco-friendly products. We would like to waste with construction, demolition, waste-based material, that also we want to encourage in a large way. This will bring us to the most important clause, which is part 6, structural design. All the next clause, please. Next one, please. The structural engineers will play a very, very powerful role in this particular clause there. Yeah, there you are. And this has got, as I said, 8 sections over there. What I will take maybe one slide later on. I'll request Arun to open out on that. My colleague who are working on the National Building Code clauses. We have separate specialist panel for each one. By the way, each one of the part of the National Building Code has got a specialist expert panel to deal with that. What all I just told you up to part 1 to part 5, they are special. Like there were 23 expert panels are there, and with as many about 1,300 expert members working on that. Structural design, loads, forces, and effects will have not only the requirements of the live load and the dead load and all the imposed loads coming in terms of forces or earthquake forces coming below the ground, wind forces coming above the ground, and landslide loads, etc., all have been covered in a very, very detailed manner. And I'm extremely happy and proud that this particular part covers not only the IS 875 on the wind load, IS 1893 on the earthquake, codes and all that, and including cyclone-related issue, they all been covered. All the structural engineers who are sitting in this particular group, the design earthquake hazard across the country has been revised comprehensively based on probabilistic consideration with the determined hazard taken as a minimum. Displacement hazard is also brought into focus. And if you go to the next slide, our seismic zoning map has also undergone a major change. This, of course, a wind zone map, which is available depending upon the pressure coming on typhoon, cyclone coming, periodic interval. What do we deal with that? If you go to the next clause, you'll see the next one on the earthquake code. A seismic zoning map there. The 2016 version has only 5 zones, which are 2 to 5 there, including Nepal was coming mostly under 5. But I want to indicate that the new National Building Code 2025, covering IS 1893, latest version 2025, has got 6 zones. That means your earlier Part 5 has been now made into 5 and 6. Those which are more intense, especially on that area. I think the Nepal region, which are co-terminus with our particular one area, partly will come under Part 5, Zone 5 and Zone 6. Very, very important, because the design forces coming for the earthquake has all been rationalized in line with the latest provisions. You are keeping on seeing the type of earthquake damages in neighborhood in Myanmar just now, about few days back, as well as in Bangkok recently, what all happened, what's happening in Indonesia. So we want to be sure that our provisions of the earthquake code are in line with the latest thinking on this particular subject over there. So that is an important point at which I'll ask at this point, Arun, can you chip in over there straight away to take over from where I'm just now leaving? Take from the next slide.
Sure.
I'll carry 7 or 8, I'll come again. Yeah. Please go ahead. No.
Thank you, Suresha. Good morning, everyone. So, apart from the wind speed map and the seismic zoning map of India, a good portion of the hills in the country are receiving snow. So, this particular map gives you the intensity of snowfall, which was collected based on a periodic study of the collection of snow at various portions of the year. Based on that, the map has been derived, and this map serves as a basic guideline for a structural engineer, so that, next please, when he designs a roof of, say, a flat roof or a hill type of roof or a slope type of roof. Next slide, please. What are the factors that particular professional should be ensuring, so that the design is sufficient enough for that particular snow load to also come in? So these are some of the states in the country where snowfall has been found abundant, and that particular load of snow has to be factored in doing the structural design of the roof elements, and accordingly from the roof elements to the columns as well as beams and all the way up to the foundation. And a detailed calculation is also suggested in annexure number M of this particular draft of NBC. And at times, even after the snowfall is done, and then the ponding effect due to melting of the snow, and then a mixture of water comes, snow is available for a considerable point of time unless it is totally drained out. So what are that particular features or safety aspects which has to be taken care of? That is also given. And more importantly, the provisions relating to blast loads. This is an option for blast loads. It is not mandatory for all the buildings. We have left this annexure number Q for the professionals so that they can decide along with the owner. In the next section, as you see in the next slide, we'll be speaking about the steel asset design or structural design using steel. Next slide, please. In that particular, okay, soils and foundation, of course, once the entire load has been ascertained in a building, that load has to be safely transferred back to the soil. It is not always possible that you have a virgin soil of enough bearing capacity to take the load. Sometimes it will be a reclaimed soil or a filled up earth soil. First of all, one needs to ascertain what is the bearing capacity or the strength bearing capacity of that particular soil. So for that particular aspect, a variety of techniques have been mentioned in the standard as to how a professional will ascertain what is the strength carrying capacity. It can be done by manual means or by mechanical means. And some of them are through washboard, as given in this particular fourth point. What are those particular pore water pressure measurement? Because the presence of water in the soil is going to reduce the bearing capacity. And similarly, seismic test, what is that particular test, how it has to be done? Because standardizing a test method is most important, else the parameters are bound to vary. So the role of the standards body in firming up that particular test method has also come in. And when the size of the building is quite huge, then you may also need to have multiple such analysis of that particular soil has to be done. It is not just one site, it is not just one pit, but you have to do it on multiple pits across that particular site. So what is that? That is all given, including on SASW test or MASW test and dilatometer test also. Next one. Yeah, and in this time, we have included details on the optical and acoustic televiewer methods also. When the piling is happening or pile type foundation has to go, one can put a camera also and see for visually what is that particular stratification of the soil as we go down below, so that he can have a realistic appreciation of the soil change at various depths. And then pressure meter test has been detailed, and similarly deep foundation has been included. See, deep foundation are very much essential because the heights of the building are rising day by day, and very tall buildings beyond from 50 meters to 250 meters are already coming up in a big way in various cities in the country. And so special type of deep foundation have been included. Last week only, combined pile draft foundation standard was released by the BIS with a separate IS number. That provisions of that particular has also been included in this particular section 2 of soils. And instrumentation techniques have also been detailed for the information of the users and the professionals. Next slide, please. That will be section 3 on timber, 3A. Next chapter is on 3A timber, and then it is on 3B on bamboo. In 3A chapter, it is not only the virgin timber but also engineered timber which can be made use of by the professionals. So what are those requirements and those properties of those engineered timber, particularly in terms of cross laminated timber? How do you ascertain those properties? What amount of glue is going into that particular CLT, and what are those parameters which are to be evaluated, and what is that test method for evaluating the parameters? And based on the test values only, an engineer will be arriving at that particular sizing of the element, be it for timber CLT element, for beam, for column, for a truss, for a rafter, or for any other foundation element, or also your roof slab element also. But use of timber has to be done. We just now heard another presenter, Dr. Basro, also mentioning about forest fire in a big way. Such fires can obviously happen within the buildings also. So how do you ensure that buildings are fire safe? Particularly the timber buildings can be made fire safe. Those aspects are also, apart from the part 4 of NBC, are also covered in section 3A in this particular revision that has also come in. And any material should be used to its full maximum potential lifetime by suitably preserving and protecting it. Timber and bamboo are such organic materials. They need to be properly protected and from the effects of borers or termites, etc., so that they can have a prolonged life. Next slide, please. Also, both timber as well as bamboo can be used independently or together with other materials like steel or concrete, so that that particular combination of elements will give enhanced performance. Bamboo, for example, we have 18 different species which have been classified into Group A, Group B, and Group C in the NBC. And depending on the strength characteristics which are grouped in those 3 groups, a professional is expected to pick any of the species available, and that particular species can be used for column element, beam element, truss element, or roofing or flooring element also. Speaking of flooring element, for example, bamboo mat corrugated sheets is one such item which can be used both for roof as well as for the floor also. And here again, the life cycle assessment and fire retardant and fire requirements have been detailed. Next slide, please. Which comes on masonry, which both India as well as Nepal share in common. More than 90% of the construction in the country is of masonry. The NBC has been very clear that not more than 4 stories, that is ground plus 3 story, only that much is permitted for a masonry, fully 100% masonry construction. Else, it will be called as a infilled masonry in RCC or infilled masonry in steel building construction. If somebody has got 100% masonry, then he cannot go beyond 4 stories. That clarity has been brought in. And newer type of masonry bricks and blocks, including by using locally available clay and earth, which are strengthened using cement or gypsum, has also been permitted. And there are limitations in use of, for example, your rat trap bound masonry, only up to 2 stories. That has been clarified. Very effective for the seismic regions of both Nepal as well as India. We can use confined masonry and reinforced masonry, for which detailed provisions are given. Next one talks about Concrete. Next slide is on concrete. The IS 456, the mother code on concrete, is under revision, and formally through the NBC also it will be subjected to wide circulation or public commenting stage. In this code, we are merging both 456 on concrete and 1343 on prestressed concrete into one standard. And more importantly, the 6 limit state criteria, as you see on the screen, on safety, serviceability, durability, robustness, integrity, and restorability, have been detailed for the understanding of the users. And there are many new materials coming up in the name of high strength steel and high strength concrete. The requirements, the limitations, and the permitted usages are all being provided in this particular revision of section 5 of NBC. And the design service life has been brought in, and more important of all is the fire resistance rating. Regular concrete has got, say, X minutes, but if you have high strength concrete, you will be surprised to know it has got lesser amount of fire resistance rating. Yes, the high strength concrete turns brittle when it is subjected to same fire temperature. So how do you protect that particular high strength concrete? Those guidelines are coming up in the fire resistance chapter. Next 3 slides are regarding steel as construction. Structural steel is nothing but IS 800. What we have done in this revision, steel chapter section 6 is divided into 2. Only steel, and then 6B on steel concrete composite. Coming up on steel, the basic material are taken up from our MTD metallurgical division, for example 2062, and that particular metallurgy department has also got separate Indian standards on fire resistant steel, weather resistant steel, and steels which are got performance with respect to seismic effect. That is the US by YS ratio, that is ultimate strength by yield strength ratio. That is all guaranteed when a person is going for IS 15962 steel section, so that can be used in earthquake prone regions, so that your construction joints, particularly beam column joints, will perform properly, and it will give enough warning at those particular beam column junctions, so that a building, in case it is being subjected to an earthquake or a dynamic loading, it will give enough loading to the occupants and it will not crumble at one go. So that is a warning, and based on the warning sign, that the owner or that particular inmate can get out of the building and the structural intervention can happen. Next 2 slides you can skip. It is all big way detailing on steel only. In this country also, in India also, steel as a high risk construction material is slowly picking up. You can skip this one. Next slide, please. On 6B, you can go to 6B, wherein steel concrete composite construction, traditionally that has been used only in, for example, in bridges and flyovers largely, but that has been permitted now in buildings also. So what are those shear connectors and what are those performance requirements for steel and concrete, how that particular composite section is going to behave, that the developments over 11384 standard has all been covered in this chapter. Next slide. In the next slide, industrialized construction by way of prefabricated concrete construction, that has been covered. Or the order of the day is quickest possible time you finish the building. That is possible if the entire element of a building is factory made and it is shifted to the site and it is assembled like your Lego and it is connected at the joints only. The code is very clear that it permits the wet jointing system and not the dry jointing system, because at the wet jointing system we can ensure that the column or beam or the wall and the column, etc., any such combination is going to gain the sufficient strength. And not only strength, for example, the performance with respect to water or your wet areas in toilets, kitchen, etc., all those will perform in a proper way. And in this revision, the 3D print, next slide please, the 3D printing construction has also come in, and more importantly, this PPVC on prefabricated pre-finish. So everything is set. It's not a building element or a bedroom or a toilet or a kitchen. It comes with its electrical line, its plumbing line, its water line, even all its water closets, everything is fit in the factory. The unit comes in a truck. You only have to use a crane, put it in the place, and then do the wet jointing. That's all. Not even painting is required. You just have to connect the plumbing line and connect the electrical line. The building is ready in a matter of days. So that is that level of introduction of these particular provisions in Annexure B. And in Annexure C, in this particular revision, the specific guidelines on the assembly has been detailed in this particular chapter. Next slide talks about glass in buildings. That is section 8. This entire, Mr. Suresh just mentioned that part 6 structural design takes care of 50% of NBC, because that is the backbone or that is the skeleton of the building. Now, not only now, for about 15 plus years in the country, the use of glass has come up in a big way, not only in India, but across the globe, because glass is such a material with which one can connect to the outside world also. But both the countries, India and Nepal, for example, have got plenty of sunlight which are coming in. So we should be very careful in only using the light portion of it and not the heat portion. So what are those requirements in terms of selection of glass, selection of glazing elements, and the framing elements, be it of UPVC or timber or aluminum or stainless steel or any other plastic material? Those guidelines are given. The major revision in this is regarding fire resistant glazing. There are 8 special types of fire resistant glass which can be used. Next slide, please. And it also talks about an optional category of blast resistance and bullet resistance. This is not required for all types of buildings, but it is required for specific type of building occupancies, say a politically important building, or say our Reserve Bank of India, or say for example buildings which are hotels which are very near to the airport. For such type of buildings, the airports authority itself has been emphasizing that certain facades or certain walls of the building should have glass, which will ensure that no penetration of bullet, etc., is going to happen. Next slide onwards, I would request once again Mr. Suresh to take over. It talks about part 7 onwards on construction management practices and safety. Next one.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arun. You did so wonderfully. Part 7 is all about practice. Now that you have designed the building architecturally, structurally, material is there, you get onto the site for dealing with the construction management, practice and safety. It talks in terms of, for the first time, including construction demolition aspect, large number of buildings, even redevelopment of an existing area has to be demolished. How do you do that in a very systematic manner? It's been covered in detail. On all safety aspects are also covered there, and information respect of the BIM has been brought into a very comprehensive manner of building information modeling of planning and design, so that everything goes as per a sequential manner is important. Every drawing has to be linked to the BIM related drawings there, and including the clause for permit to work system has been added, ensuring stricter control for high risk activities and concern strikes. As I said, demolition portion is a very major component that has been brought in, how to do that in a very large way, and including transportation direction of precast and prefab element, especially the clause that he read over in structural design in the site over there. Here it is not construction, it's actually the transportation erection component will come in a site over there. How do you deal with those particular things have been covered in a very, very detailed manner. The safety of construction workers as an important one of OSAS 18001, so that no accidents take place, whatever precautions to be done at the level of whether the excavation site or construction site, the type of protection for the neighboring area, dust and particles should not go into the neighboring area, what type of precautions to be done, all have been covered over there. Can you go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Yeah. So this is regarding the barricading and construction. I'll just say, storing excavated soil, monitoring adjacent buildings should not affect the neighboring area, improve safety and minimizing risk of surrounding one, and also responsible the construction management team and supervision team in a very large way regarding anchoring of various non-structural elements and building services, because the service people also will come over there. As you see, next parts are part 8 and part 9. After the main structural one comes over there, the building and plumbing service will come over there. We have special provisions added for marine, hill and snowbound area. What are the type of problems there involved in those environments there? Construction safety related issues, what needs to be done, have been covered in a very deep. And I think these provisions will have substantial amount of use for the Nepal context there, which are the hill and snowbound and hill area component also in a big way. Next slide, please. Equally important are the insulated non-structural element finishes. So structural, non-structural, and finish and building services like fixing of glass, fixing of maintenance, all these have been covered in a very detailed manner. The proficiency of construction engineers, not only the design engineer, the one who can supervise that, the construction engineer's qualification, because much more, we are the one going to be at the site to deal with that, where the link with the structural engineers, we have brought in a subtle difference between a structural engineer who can design it. Structurally, you can give the detailed drawing and go and supervise. You need not necessarily the same gentleman there who has done that, can be from various area, but the good for construction drawings with the structural steel details, etc., will be coming at the construction engineers. The link has been brought in over there, and the special provision for thermal insulated glass and glazing has been added, and also development in emergency response for disaster management plan for construction site. What will happen in case of especially hazard prone areas? something happens of a landslide or an earthquake or whatever, what needs to be done, mudslide, what needs to be done, those have all been covered in a comprehensive manner. Very important part, according to me, part 7. Going forward, next slide. That I told you is a building services one. We got about 6 sections. The first one is the lighting and natural ventilation, and this covers all aspects of. And as Arun said, we are 95% of India's one is called the clear design sky. Unlike all over the world, it's called the standard overcast sky. So Surya Bhagavan is extremely useful for us. How do you use for the daylighting in a large way, planning right level orientation of the particular building, illumination levels required. How do you get the light in and not the heat inside the particular building? The circadian lighting system, outdoor lighting system, all have been put in a detailed manner, illumination level required. How do you deal with that? And including the artificial illumination aspects also covered. Like natural ventilation is covered here. Mechanical will come in section 3 on air conditioning. So, but the artificial lighting will also come in here, especially during the night period. Orientation of building is an important clause there, which the architects and planners do that, engineers do that, using that particular thing depending upon the movement of the sun from the east to the west, because we are on the northern hemisphere at this point of time. So those detailed aspects are being covered in a very minute manner. Going forward, next please. Next please. Yeah, electrical installation, I think we already have covered. We are extremely happy and proud. This is a very, very important document. All buildings require power. Safe electrical installation becomes the electrical engineer does the most important thing in line with the Indian electricity rules and acts. Provisions are there. We have taken into account. We have the National Electrical Code also separately brought out by the Bureau of Indian Standard. So National Electrical Code will primarily at the level of higher level of electrical installation, but at the building level, everything will come in the National Building Code, Part 8, Section 2, electrical installation. The electrical safety aspects, yesterday and Shruti made a presentation already. She's also associated with this particular part in a very large way, and the planning of electrical installation and all the design issues on apparatus, etc. Where do you put the substation, transformer, standby generator, location for all that, and the nature of wiring, including entire wiring system, right from selection, installation, circuit segregation, mitigation, electromagnetic interference, all have been covered. Extremely happy that this particular part has been done with the best possible electrical engineers in the country, having worked with the civil engineers and the architects and the MEP team, and of course the fire safety. Whenever the fire there is an electrical short circuit is the reason they blame the electrical installation. So we can't make that happen. So we like to see how well you deal with safe electrical installations and also in line with the latest provisions required. And more importantly, you also having the renewable energy coming, linked with the grid energy coming. How do you link the solar energy to be along with the grid energy to be utilized in the building is also an important component, including electrical vehicle, the type of charging points to be done. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, fittings on luminaires are covered there. And also, provision of clause 8 has been done in terms of with the latest provision of the special publication 30, which is a National Electrical Code. We have covered that is an electrical code. The periodic verification, safety audits, and fire audits to be done. I just told you about the EV charging, where you can put the EV charging points. We have made a separate thing that the electric vehicle cannot be linked with the other vehicle charging, so it should be a separate location there. Even if electric vehicle parking is to be done only up to one basement. Other vehicle can go to lower basement, but EV can only come out to one basement. All have been covered in detail with the charging points to be done, not only for residential building, commercial building, office building, hospital building, hotel buildings. All buildings have been covered in a very detailed manner. Lightning protection is an important component. Very high rains and all that. India has got this problem. You also have that. How do you protect buildings with the lightning protection in a large way, special insulation, human protection? We don't want any dust to happen. More so with solar photovoltaics, etc. to be done. What type of precautions required to be done have been covered in a very large manner. Can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, this will bring us to the most important one, HVAC, air conditioning, heating, and mechanical ventilation. As I told you, section 1 gives only natural ventilation. Mechanical ventilation will come over here. All aspects of the design of air conditioning have been brought in over there, of new refrigeration, zero zone depletion, minimal global warming impact, energy efficiency enhancement to be brought in over there, promotion of software tools for precise energy calculation, system design, encouragement of energy efficient, variable refrigerant flow, VRF, and inverter-based cooling and air conditioning, the best solution. At one point of time, India used to have 150 to 200 square feet per ton of air conditioning. Today we have buildings with even up to 1,000 tons to be done with 1 ton of 1,000 square feet to be done with 1 ton of air conditioning. Can you believe from 200 square feet per ton of air conditioning, we can now go up to 1,000 square feet per ton of air conditioning. But the nature of air conditioning has done phenomenal change of the latest technology in that area. All have been covered in this particular part in a very detailed manner. Going forward, next slide, please. Updated weather information is also available for all the 60 cities for tailored system planning. Refined indoor design guidelines have been brought in for local climatic condition. Cold storage is an important one. Refrigeration area, especially food preservation is important, especially Nepal and the hill districts of here are also to take care of preserving the food, so the reducing waste in a large way. Enhanced ventilation standards to operate fresh supply. This is an important component. Fresh air supply to be brought in, especially lower basements and all, have been covered in a very, very minute, a detailed manner as far as is concerned. Some portions also heating, especially in the northern part of India, where the snow and all of that. Some heating, the same system can be used also heating purposes. So that's why it's covered both air conditioning for cooling purposes, heating for northern part of India, maybe Nepal also would require some of it, and mechanical ventilation. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Very important. Acoustic sound insulation noise control is a desirable functional requirement. It's not a safety issue, but safety from noise control becomes an important one. Large number of very useful provision of acoustic shielding during infrastructure development, large highways and all. Noise control becomes an important component. They are covered. Detailed design requirements, performance evaluation of noise barriers, and effective noise mitigation have been covered. While lower level of sound is in our quieter area, libraries, schools, hospitals, etc. You can one is at that is well that is acoustics level are needed, and whereas noise control is required for the outer end. So both are covered in a very large way, and we have covered these provisions in a very detailed manner as far as this particular requirement is concerned. Next, please. Next slide, please. Lifts. Vertical transport is a very, very important component of all tall buildings that you require, especially basements all coming. We have two parts, sections, 5A and 5B earlier, but this time we got 5A, 5B, and 5C. So 5A will cover all about the vertical lifts component there, and all those detailed, including double-deck lift system is the latest approach there. We are one above the other, and independent cabin system for improving efficiency, reduce waiting period. You can also have got fire safety aspects. It's also a requirement of seismic also, because the lift machine, you can't have the movement cabin. What type of special precautions are required have been also covered for safety mechanism on the clear of the lift well, and also the guide rails and related design in a very large way. Next slide, please. 5B. Yeah, these are all the detail. Zoning wise, you try to cover a 100-story building. How do you bring zoning, separate cabins? We can bring all those details. These are very details for, especially for taller buildings of a very large nature. We mount this particular aspects in a very detailed manner. The elevator experts are very happy with these latest provisions, because that really provides a solution. If you want a 50-story, a 60-story, 80 or 100-story building, which are more and more coming in India in a very large way, it covers that in a detailed manner. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is, of course, detailed one. The destination control system is added, including the single-deck lift and double-deck system, which I mentioned about that. Special provisions on fire safety provision, the fireman's lift with the fire-rated doors and emergency speed criteria. All of you should be very happy, because you are on the fire service and the electrical services. Evacuation strategies in case of enhanced operational features are also being covered in 5A. Next, please. Next, please. Most important. Escalators are the diagonal and the horizontal travel or moving walks. Very important for large number of buildings, including malls and airports and other related ones. And these have been covered in a very, very detailed manner. Well, I think I'm extremely happy that the provisions are done in line with the latest state-of-the-art technologies available anywhere in the world. Next slide, please. More important. So this really brings us to automatic parking system. So power-driven parking system, and that's all. Elevators only bring that particular one. So 5C has brought in on the power-driven parking system in a very large way. APS is new provision that has been added. on parcel parking system and tower parking system have been covered, which once gives a high density parking with a stackable platform or a vertical high density parking with a limited space. So these are all important requirements which are all required when demography, the population increases, spaces are lesser, parking vehicles are become more. How do you provide parking provisions in a very large way becomes a big challenge. We have covered that in a very detailed manner. That will bring us to the next slide on automated parking system. Very, very important. Large number of buildings in India have not only the mechanical system and the hydraulic system using the pulley mechanism or using hydraulic cylinders for auto-designated platforms. And these are extremely working very well. The safety aspects are very, very important to give automated parking system. Especially big cities of India are already having the automated parking system. So this clauses will be extremely useful for that in a very large way.
Sir, we
That
need
should bring
to
me.
step faster.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. That will bring us to the information communication. As I told you, anything that you want modern world is all about information. How do you, the wiring of the building, just like your water line, your sewer line, your gas line, is the information highway inside the building, optical fiber, feeder cable, not only in the external infrastructure you lay that, also within the building you do that. How do you deal the ICT of the building right in the beginning? Very, very important. The electronics people and the communication team are associated right in the beginning. Large number of new townships that are coming, the information communication people are there right in the beginning, not at the end of the whole building. Part 9, plumbing services, water supply. There are 4 sections there. Water supply, anything to do with water supply. Safe quality water, including integrated water management. Very important one. We brought down the requirement of water 135 liters from residential to 90. Very historic revision. Commercial building of 45 down to 30, because recycling and reuse of water is a very important component that we are doing integrated water management. So water requirements for building other than residents now requires, and all have been covered in a very detailed manner. The hydro, pneumatic and pressurized water supply system have been included. Storage requirements of water, drinking fountain, design flood elevation, demand circulation system of water, vacuum breaker, especially high-rise building, you require all that have been covered. Anything that you want on plumbing and water supply, you have answers coming in this. Going to the next section, that is going to be on drainage and sanitation. Very, very important there of emergency floor plan, flood level plan. You have brought in the whole issue of not only the nature of the treatment that you require for the plumbing system. Dual plumbing system is an important component for the design of that. Even if you are doing a sewer and you have an STP or what type of things you require for the fecal flood management and different type of technologies for the PSTPs becomes an important component. All have been covered. So depending upon your type of your cities and towns, tier 2, tier 3, the drainage and sanitation becomes an important component there. So this will give you all the solutions in a very large. More so, imagine we are going to recycle water to be used coming from the water side, of all the wastewater to be recycled, and you bring all your flushing water. So you have the 2-pipe system coming over there, or drinking water separately, and also the flushing water pipelines to be brought in. All these are covered in a very detailed manner. That will bring us to the next section on solid waste management. On very, very important, all streams of solid waste has got to be taken care of it, all not only the domestic waste, but also the biomedical waste, electronic waste, including the construction demolition waste. What type of technologies are required for not only segregating, also transporting, treatment on that, including various types of technology, including waste to energy and other related purposes have been covered. The idea is waste to wealth, refuse to resource, trash to cash or trash to treasure is a new mantra where waste management is covered in a very large way in the buildings. So the environment ministry has got all the rules available to deal with all waste regulation. We are covered all that, including provision of refuse chutes in buildings for efficient transportation, most in multi-story buildings for and transportation in a large way, including all technology can be done at the local level, including biodigesters. All that have been covered in a very detailed manner. That will bring us to the next one. India is
sir,
already
3 more minutes, sir.
Yeah. I know we'll take 2 minutes more because we started late. Provision. We also covered solid waste management, biodegradable waste, commercial building, and all concerned. As I told you, the construction and demolition waste is another major area where we also good coverage. Next slide, please. Next slide. gas supply. India is getting increasingly piped gas supply in a very large way. Along with your water line, no more your cylinders there. How do you deal with that? We started about not in the first version. In the third version, we brought it, but now gas supply provisions have been added in a very large way. The safety of the gas supply lines is a very, very important component, like along with other lines which are buried utilities there. Whatever safety aspects are within the building also, how do you deal with that, have been covered. The type of pressure. We don't want a Ronan point collapse of a bursting of a gas line or something of that nature. So we have covered detailed provision available on the flexible gas supply connection to prevent stresses in the equipments and real ensure the safety installation component for gas-powered equipment, ensuring the system according to manufacturer's instruction. Those are all covered. All issues on gas supply, just like a water supply, electric supply, all these lines will be one more other utility line. This should bring us to part 10 of the building code, which is on landscaping planning. Section 1 is on landscaping planning design. The horticulture or the landscape architects come is going to be horizontal. It can be vertical. It can be also roof. All components of the green will come to take care of the heat island effect to be brought in, whatever species to be done, the building to be green, what percentage to be done. Singapore is a good example of so much amount of green being provided all over, which will also ensure the overall environment in a very large way or built environment. Heat island effect is brought down. Water bodies will help us to bring it down. So the nature of plants to be done. All those details have been covered in a very detailed manner in section 1. And section 2, next one clause, can you go to the next one, please? It's on all the outdoor displays. So in buildings are made, but all your hoardings are put around the building, on top of the building, or independent hoardings are there. But we had the major accident of a 100-foot boarding. About 30 people died because of very heavy wind. The whole thing fell down on the people there dying. So it's got a very safety, the structural safety of science and outdoor display structure either on top of the building or a standalone building, because it's important. We are even put in the requirement of the building permit required for the signage into the particular one, and whatever safety required, structural point of view, electrical, because large number of the hoardings also have neon signs or light electrical neon sign light, night lighting is there. So it can also be a major area of concern. So science and outdoor display structures got not only structural people, electrical people, both have to come into a large way. Besides, of course, the design, also signage control, depending upon various areas. Only a specific area where you can put that is also covered in the particular one. This will bring us to clause 11, part 11 on the sustainability clause there. Very important one. After, as I said, Indian National Building Code, the first one, where after the Sustainable Development Goal to the 2030 was brought out in September 2015. NBC 2016 was the first one to bring in approach to sustainability in a very large way. I'm very happy that this is now being used as a model by all over the world. And this covers all issues on integrated water management, energy management, waste management, site control, all issues related to sustainability, including the building material. We also sustainable development goals to the net zero aspect, net zero carbon, net zero water, net zero waste. I mean, all covered in that. This will bring us to the last part. Part 2. Can you go to the next clause? Yeah. I think one more clause of sustainability. This is important because every country has decided to have its goal. For example, developed countries have put net zero carbon by 2050. China, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia has put 2060. India has put net zero carbon as 2070. So that's our goal there. So we are in 2025. So 45 years more. How do you do that in a phased manner? The net zero carbon. Net zero carbon is not the operational carbon. It's all the embodied carbon of the building material. Steel, cement, glass, aluminum are guzzlers of energy. So embodied carbon reduction is what is required, or carbon footprint reduction. Not only in the operational carbon to be reduced, to be brought down by lighting and other one, but also in the building material. That's a difficult area to achieve that. So we have covered that aspect in a very detailed manner. Let us bring to the part 12 on assets and facility management. As again, we are extremely happy that NBC India is the only court in the world which has brought in this clause on assets and facility in 2016 version. It was not there earlier, and the common area maintenance charges covering all housekeeping and energy consumption detail, and we got now detailed checklist. Very important is how do you deal with all those things. So the new animal of assets and facility managers come in. Electrical installation, what are the checklists required to say for that? What do you require for lift installation?
Requesting you
Safety
to
for that.
conclude your session, Dr. Vasudevan. We are
Madam,
quite
please
ahead
don't-
of this time. I'm really sorry. I have to interrupt you, Dr. Vasudevan. Really sorry. We are really far
got it
ahead of
start-
this time.
We lost 15 minutes. Madam, we lost 15 minutes when we started. Okay.
I
So
really
we got
apologize.
checklists. Please give us 2
I
minutes.
really apologize.
Be a little patient. Please give us 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Just
our
go
next
ahead.
presenter is we already have connected with our next presenter. We are really sorry.
Ma'am, please give 2 minutes. These are last 3 slides. So we have the special requirements of this. Nowhere this presentation is there. You should learn it. This is where the detailed requirements of all the checklists for the lifts, electrical installation. How do you check that maintenance on a periodic day-to-day basis on that it functions when the problem comes over there? Unless a good assets and facility management team is available there, you will never be able to ensure all those good provisions which are there to provide that is in a working condition. When fire comes, sprinkler doesn't work. None of the extinguishers work. So these are all important provisions you understand, which are done for periodically. Provisions have been added, and how do you deal with that is an important component you should know in the life cycle of the building. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, where replacement is needed, all have been covered in a detailed manner. Go to the next one. I think last class or something like this one. You can leave this. Next one. Next one. I think this is covered. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one, please. Hello. Next one.
Yeah, that's all. This will be the last one. Next one. There will be a QR code.
Yeah.
Yes, you
So-
can stop in the QR.
So this is important because Arun has ensured that all the 12 parts and 21 sections of the National Bill, 13 plus 21, 33 documents are all on wide circulation now. National Building Code of India 2025, where whole country is now talking about this particular document. You're the first one. Even within India, they have not heard it. I'm very happy to share that Kathmandu is the first time you get a full picture like that. Now, this is a QR code. All the documents are available on public domain. You can ask, you can get a complete, take a copy of this. You can get access to all the documents, right? Start from part 0 to part 12, and you can participate by giving your constructive comments on this particular document in a very large way. And these are all available, and this has already gone to about 25,000 people all over the country and abroad. And Arun and I'll be very happy to get as much feedback. Thank you very much for the time.